All right. Hello, everyone. If you could keep your microphones muted, we'll open up the chat box in the bottom of the screen. If you have questions, please post them into the chat box and we'll answer those at the conclusion of the call. I see Patricia Buell's here with us. Hi, Patty. Welcome.
Hi, thanks.
So I thought I'd start off just by letting everyone know Patricia and I have been working together on her school now for almost 2 years. I think is when we started talking about our product and our technology for use in her school. Our application is close to 12 months since we applied our product last February at Brooklyn Elementary and Middle School. And we've been conducting some ongoing discussions between Patty's team and our team, and been working with the custodial staff on a multitude of tests that we're doing ongoing there as well for flooring applications and other things. But I did want to make it clear, Patty is not paid by our company in any way. She's been gracious enough to share her experience in using our product. Also, we'll be talking at the end here about ESSER funds, how she was able to obtain the funds necessary to cover the cost of applying the coding. And we're really here to work with schools. So we want to hear from you. We want to learn about things that you're encountering in your schools and things that we can do to help you. And so I'm going to dive right in real quick, Patty. I've got about 10 minutes of slides. I just want to give some of the folks that don't know much about our company what the technology is, and then I'm going to ask you a few questions. Hopefully you can help shed some light on, no pun intended, on our product. So let me share my screen here, and I apologize if we run into any trouble here. Zoom tends to be a little funky. Let me know when everybody can see my full screen here, which is coming up right now. Why can't I see Zoom? All right, I'm going to leave it in this mode. Can everyone see my screen? Okay. Good to go. Okay, so TiCoat Surface Protect. You know, we've all been dealing with the ongoing, boy, hopefully this is not getting trouble. Current methods of cleaning your schools and buildings in general are time consuming, reactive, expensive, quite frankly. And that's the expense that the ESSER funds have really helped with the federal government to offset.
Todd, you're on mute.
All right, the space bar is not working. So what we've been doing for cleaning supplies and what we talk about with green cleaners, we get this a lot from schools, and this is where Patty and I got involved with kind of evaluating the cleaners that have been approved for use in her school. And when you read the labels, we found that a lot of the teachers in the school were not using, and the custodial staff not really using the products the way they should be utilized. And so when we start looking at these cleaners, you see things like toxic to humans, animals, and people. Many of them say spray, let it sit on the surface, and clean it with water afterwards. And so what we have developed is a technology. It's a one-time application product that you spray on all surfaces. My office here has been completely treated with our product. All the desks, chairs, tables, computers, touch screens, everything. You cannot see it on the surface, and it uses light, oxygen, and water to break down contaminants and odors that touch its surface. And it's inert. It's based on titanium dioxide, which you brushed your teeth with this morning. If you white pigment in toothpaste, it's used in white additives for white powdered donuts and things like that. So this technology is relatively old technology, and our team basically has come up with a way to make it stick to surfaces and created a ceramic finish that works with all light sources to break down odors and contaminants that touch its surface and making a cleaner environment. So Patty's school has been cleaning her school with water for the last year. No toxic cleaners anywhere in the school. They mopped the floors in the bathrooms, and one of the areas that was of most concern was the bathrooms and the urinals in the elementary school, where they had urinals that went to the floor, and as the boys would have accidents, they would get build up smells. No odors have returned in 12 months in the school, just using water. And the custodial staff kind of disclosed to me that they were sneaking some materials in on weekends because the odors were so bad in a few of the bathrooms. They had no other product that they could use to mitigate the smell. And so our mission is to deliver safer living environments to the world. We also break down VOCs and SVOCs. And one of the things that we would like to start doing with some of our new partnerships with schools is to test before and after the schools for odors in general, but also for cleaner air in the environment. And that's one of the things that the teachers had reported to our team. They felt that when they went into the school, it smelled fresher. And that's one of the byproducts of our chemistry as we do what we do when organics touch the surface and contaminants that create odors, we break them down into harmless gases, things like oxygen, and it just goes off into the environment. So let me try to share my screen one more time here, because there's a good slide here that I'd like to share with the group. Hopefully it doesn't give me too much trouble here. All right. So my team consists of, and it's important to get a feel for our team. Michael Lewandowski, he's our Chief Scientific Officer. Michael worked for Henkel Corporation, has an expertise in adhesives and promoting things that would bond to surfaces. Michael transformed the technology. The original technology only worked in direct sunlight. We've successfully bonded copper oxide, which is known to do a multitude of things, with titanium dioxide into a ceramic finish that uses all visible light to do what I just described. And so some of the third-party testing that we've completed doesn't look like my. Are we seeing this slide, third-party validation? So we've done with the University of Connecticut scrubbability tests. The only way to remove the coating from the surface is to abrasively remove it with sanding it off of a surface. Once it's attached, it's permanently part of the surface and you can't see it. So in the schools that we did for Patty, the responses we get from people is the school just looks really clean. We've done adhesion tests. We've got food contact approval, meaning you can apply it in the custodial areas where you do food services. It means that if you put a sandwich on the surface, it will not transmit from the surface to the food that we're eating. And it is also anti-slip. So if you apply it on surfaces, it helps to promote anti-slip, which is one of the tests we're doing at Patty's school right now. It also is the safest solution. As I mentioned, it breaks down VOCs and SVOCs. These are the smells you get with paints, with a freshly painted room. If you apply our product following the paint, it will break down those odors. We are also clean air certified. We do not generate any VOCs or SVOCs into the environment when we're applying the product. And then once it's applied to the surface, it's a ceramic finish. So just to give you an idea, the original coating, my team took the production cost. We've got it now into a very affordable range in line with what you would normally pay for general purpose cleaners. We have teams that we work with. We did Patty schools in one day, over 100,000 square feet per school footprint wise. In 7 hours, we treated it top to bottom. And we have a very strong program with veterans, disabled and able-bodied veterans. We trained up, I think, almost 80 veterans that day. And they completed the job within the 7-hour span from the time we did the general training for them. And it's a professionally applied product. And the thing that we've been noting, and this is what I want Patty to share, is the ESSER funds. We know that a lot of schools have been slow to kind of use up the funds that they have available. We can help you sort of chase down some of these things. We've noted, this was in the Wall Street Journal in the last couple of days, 70–80% of the schools have not utilized those funds. And Patty was able to successfully get TiCoat approved and funded through this ESSER funds program. The training for our team members is free. This is a photo from the school. We were getting everybody trained up. They spent about an hour and a half of online training. And then we also trained Patty's custodial team on doing touch-up and maintenance of the surfaces. So for example, in bathrooms where you might wear the coating off over time, they would just go in if any odors start to creep back in. I'm happy to report we're close to a year now. None have. We expect the product to last many years in the school. On the vertical surfaces, you're really not going to have to do anything to maintain or support the product going forward. It's a two-step process. These are the door cards that we put on every room in the school. We left the care instructions behind with a bottle of water for the teachers. And then they use a microfiber cloth and water to do general cleaning in all the rooms. We treated the desks, chairs, walls, locker rooms, everything in the school was treated from top to bottom in both the elementary and the middle schools. And with that, Patty, if you could take a moment here, I have a few questions for you. I know when we first started this, there were some concerns with the staff, particularly with the nurses station. What were the concerns that were voiced from your team, and what were the things that made them feel comfortable after the installation was complete? I think things have changed a little bit.
Right. I think that, so just so to be clear, we didn't practice these ahead of time. I didn't know you were asking. I can answer them. So, when we first brought it on, one of the things that I thought about saying when I got on here today was the fact that we did a lot of prep work. I did share the information with the board. I shared, Todd had come in and shared information with the teachers about the product and about the safety of the product. So I think that just generally speaking, even a little bit more than what he shared today is what he would share. And even things like that, you have that, whatever the chemical is that's in your toothpaste and powdered donuts, that some of the chemical that, or the product that they use is stuff that we're consuming already anyway. So I think that helped so the concern was, what is this? What is it on the surface? Is it going to be harmful? And so we just did answer the questions ahead of time. We gave them a chance to ask any questions. And sometimes the staff are not going to ask this visitor the questions, but they certainly will ask me or some of the other staff in the district. So I think it was mostly around safety. Are they going to be breathing this? What's the smell? Is there going to be a smell left over? Because I'm sensitive to smells. And not only was the answer, there's going to be no smell from the application, but the smell in the school was tremendously better, like literally fresh air in the building. So those were some of the concerns and how we addressed some of them before even applying.
Thank you, Patty. And then some of the questions that we've been getting is the ESSER funds, the approval process. I mean, we went through Green Seal certification so that we were capable of applying, and then also training your staff on applying it. But what was the process for the ESSER funds? I mean, it seemed like it was pretty simple for you to apply and obtain what you need to cover the cost.
As far as the ESSER application in Connecticut, we all use the same e-grants management system to make the request. So I just put it in as a product to help maintain the cleanliness of our buildings. And that's really where the purpose of the ESSER funds is, to help us, recover learning loss, but also to help maintain our buildings to be clean. And it absolutely has done that. And then some. It's done more than we anticipated. And I was as skeptical as anybody, like, really, this sounds too good to be true. But in the end, we're very, very pleased with the product, the company. A year later, we're still very happy. I'll jump into your next question, Todd, unless you want to.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, saving money on cleaning supplies, that was a unanticipated consequence. Once I realized what was happening, what we were getting, my first budget season, I reduced my expenditures for cleaning supplies by 25 to 30%. And it's really more than just the money. It is the fact that we're not putting that stuff, the other chemicals on the surfaces, because we all know if it's not clean, they're going to spray this stuff on, they're going to use more of it to hopefully clean it better, and then not properly wipe it off. And so, when we're talking about the cafeteria and we put chemicals down to clean the surface, and if they're not going through and washing it a second time with clean water, then there's chemicals left on that table. And so, for me, I always think about this as if it was my child. If my child was eating on that table, would I be satisfied? And I'm I'm very pleased to say I'm proud to have the students in Brooklyn eating on our cafeteria tables, because I know they're clean and I know there aren't foreign chemicals on that table that someone cleaned. That or cleaned with, and even classroom teachers, we all know that we tell them you have to have green products in the school, and I could easily find, quickly find other products in people's classrooms, but now there's a sense that we don't have to do that. You don't have to bring your bleach wipes in. Bleach wipes are not allowed in Connecticut. The Clorox wipes are not allowed, and because they're not green, and so but we knew they were being used anyways, and we just know they weren't being used properly. And so there is a risk. And, when you think about all the sensitivities out there that people have, that could be adding to it. So.
Yeah, Patty, I think before we dive into the next question, it was even an eye opener for my team, right? Because as I start reading the labels of these products, green, as we went through the Green Seal certification process, 90% of it was about recyclability of the product. It really had nothing to do with the chemistries that were in there other than diluted form, taking peroxides and diluting it to the point where it does absolutely nothing. It's just a water-based product. But then you read it deeper and you see things like spray it on a surface, let it sit for 10 minutes, then you're supposed to follow it with water. And you watch how people do it where they spray and wipe and they're not really using it properly, right? They're not letting it sit long enough. But then you see, at the beginning of the pandemic, we saw people going back to their classrooms, and the teachers, everybody was terrified, right? So we were cleaning and doing crazy things that kids were eating off of those surfaces. And when you leave the material and the residuals behind, that stuff transfers to us. As our food touches the surface, our hands touch it, that gets, pulled into our skin and all kinds of things. So I'm a germaphobe now, and I wasn't before I started the company and got us up and running. And I was just at a local restaurant the other night, and I had a girl come out with a bottle that was with no label on it, and she sprayed the table and she wiped, and I could see there was some residual on there. And I asked her what it was, and the response I got was she didn't know. And I said, "Can you tell me? Go get me the bottle." It was ammonia mixed in water, and I said, "That's not even approved for use around food." So now I'm like thinking, I don't even put my phone on things. I mean, I've become sort of a germaphobe for chemicals since having been involved with our company. And then the other thing that we recently heard, I don't know if it was from you or from Heather, the principal at the school, but there was a kind of a state audit, or someone came in to evaluate the cleanliness of the school, and then there was a response there. And I was just curious if you were aware of that or heard of it.
So I've had a couple visitors, and I'm guessing, I'm trying to recall which one, but because I've actually had multiple people come in into the district for not to look at the TiCoat or for different reasons, but everyone says, "Oh, the building looks great. The building is so clean. The building is so clean." That is the response. And we all know how hard it is to keep the buildings clean, but so I assume that's part of what Heather was talking about. But I've had it from multiple people come in and say the building's clean. And so what does that mean? I think that means that when the TiCoat was applied, the building, we made sure it was clean, and then this surface coating was put on, and then it doesn't get dirty under that, and the coating stays, so it's not getting worn down and dirty. Literally, you look down you look down a long hallway, and you can see the sheen of the walls, which used to have, the smears of fingerprints, which is normal school stuff, but those walls are still shiny. It looks like they've been painted. Every time you go over there, it looks like it's just been painted. And so I think that's again another benefit. And yes, when we paint the walls, whatever year that's going to be, we'll have to reapply the TiCoat at that point. And so my facilities person has been trained. We can then apply it ourselves. But until we do that, I know that those surfaces are clean and they look good. And people from the outside, people that have gone into other schools, say, "Wow, this school looks clean. They're doing a nice job in here." And they are. I mean, it's easier to clean, and it's costing me less money.
Yeah, I think at one point we kind of calculated out the chemistries, when we went into your back room there, and I think it was somewhere around 18,000 chemicals this year that you've eliminated from the school that I could kind of tally up. But you know, it's amazing even to us to be involved with something as special as this, because most of these cleaners talk in seconds or minutes. We talk in years of operational use on a surface. And just having the ability to say that we're eliminating these, even the bar and restaurant industry. We've got bar owners that, you know, we did a recent one down in Fairfield, Connecticut, where the bar owner had my favorite saying. He said, "It's not what I smell, it's what I don't smell." And it was a dive bar for a college where the kids went in there and they're drinking beer and spilling it all over the place, and the urinals smelled terrible, and they've had no odors. And we're going post operationally there. We did some testing in Universal Studios in Florida on an algae wall. I'm happy to report that's at month 18 with no algae regrowth on the wall. And they power wash. What happened was they had a wall with ferns where it was turning green every couple of days, and they go out there and power wash the wall. So we took and did the normal power washing, and then we treated 50% of the wall with our product. And just using sunlight and natural rainwater, that doesn't regrow on the surface. It can't stick to the surface. It just falls off. That's what TiCoat focuses on. We don't break down organic material like dirt. Dirt can still land on the surface, but what makes dirt stick to the surface is the organics. I'm sorry, inorganics is the dirt, but organically, pollen, which is a sticky substance, that's what attaches it and makes it difficult to remove from the surface. We break that interface so that if you did the exterior of your building, it would be self-cleaning with rainwater. We're doing solar panel tests. We did look at Patty's school for the solar panels, but they're so tightly packed, we'd have to disassemble the whole thing. But we have done tests. It's hydrophilic. It does self-cleaning glass on exteriors of buildings. So we did primarily focus with Patty's school on the interior applications, but now we're testing it on flooring as a wax protectant or wax replacement. We're trying it in a few different areas in high wear zones to see how well if it can make the floor wax safer, less slippery, and last longer between the time that the crews have to go back in and re-wax the floors. So it's really been an eye opener for us. And we're finding new uses for the products all the time. We have people that have been testing it as a floor cleaning, for carpet cleaning, with unbelievable results. In the automotive industry, spraying the interiors to get rid of the new plasticide smells, that new car smell, that's volatiles that are outgassing from the plasticides. Not good for you. I know we like the smell of that, but it's not good to breathe that stuff. And we apply it and it's instantly gone. It doesn't come back. We just finished a project, Patty, in Westchester County, New York. We had a painting crew with CertaPro painters where they had gone in and they did an oil-based paint and they resurfaced the floors. And the owner was living in an Airbnb because she was reacting to the volatiles, to the VOCs that were outgassing from these paints that they use for over a month. And she was literally in tears. 2 hours after we applied, all of the smells were gone. She said she bleached the house 10 times. She walked in the house and the first response that she said was, "Oh my God, I can smell my incense candle." She had incense candles all over the house. She said, "I tried all these online remedies, nothing worked." And now that's post application 3 months and there's no smells in her home. So she was able to move back in with her kids. So we talked a little bit about the treatment time. We were surprised by that. We had anticipated, I think, a week. You remember, Patty?
Yep.
About halfway through the day, I said, "Holy cow, we're going to do the whole school in 7 hours." Yeah. And it was like clockwork. I mean, we can come into your school with minimum disruption. We can put teams together anywhere in the United States. We've got a national program we're rolling out with CertaPro painters. We've got veteran programs. We try to tie into local veterans, disabled and able-bodied vets. I'm a big proponent of that. Patty was as well. We used a lot of veterans on her project. This is a perfect product for those kind of folks. I wouldn't encourage the schools to try to tackle doing the entire school with their staff. It's really best for us to come in and do the initial coating, then train your staff on the same day. We were working with Patty's staff and training them how to do maintenance of the surfaces, touch-ups, things like that. So they're trained and certified. They can buy the product, they can use it and do the general maintenance. And it does not eliminate your normal cleaning routines. I mean, you still need to get in there and wipe the bathroom floor with a mop and water, but it does eliminate the toxic cleaners in your schools. So you can just go to straight water. And if you need a sanitizing wipe, there's plenty of things that we've tested for quick acting that you could have the teachers, because some people just want to feel like they're doing something. It won't harm our surface at all. It's what TiCoat does between the time you wipe that surface and the next time you do it, because otherwise, every time you touch that surface, you're contaminating it with odors and things that, cause problems, right? And that's the difference. If I wipe a surface and I touch an untreated surface, nothing's happening until I wipe the surface, unless you have our product where we fill in those voids. So, Patty, is there anything else that you want to share with the group? I mean,
I do. The one thing that was, again, we didn't necessarily anticipate. Of course, we think of bathrooms because bathrooms sometimes have those lovely smells, but we did not think about the locker rooms, and that was such a huge change. So we all know that funky smell of a locker room, and they went through that locker room. By the time they left, all the people that were doing the coding, there was no smell there. And the PE teachers that came in on Monday morning said, it smells like fresh air in here. And again, we still go in there and there's no funky locker room smell. And it's a smell that you just don't get rid of. It doesn't matter how much cleaner you put in your water and you wash the floors with. It's a smell that we had never gotten rid of. And I joke with other superintendents and say, come to my school, come smell, because I have nothing. I've got no smell, no locker room smell, no boys' room smell. It really is a much more pleasant environment without those smells. So the company has been great for us. They're local here, so I felt lucky to be able to have them come in. We've done some testing. They've been able to answer any questions that I've had. The vets were amazing when they came in. And I think that we are continuing. Like recently I had them come back. I said, can you try this? Can you try this? And so like Todd said, we're testing a floor area to see, we may be able to save some money on wax and even the time. The biggest cost we all have is man hours. And I anticipate some reduced man hours as a result of this. So that there's layers of success here with this, and I feel like it's a well-kept secret, and I try to share it because I think it was important. And the ESSER funding was a great way to do it. It's a one-time expense, get it off the books, and then you're good to go for a long time. So that's it.
Yeah,
I'll answer any questions. Anyone's welcome to come smell my school that wants to. So.
Well, the other thing we did too, and we still have to circle back on that, was the school buses. I think we treated a dozen or so of your school buses on the interior spaces. It was a rainy day that day. That's one thing we have to be careful of is, it's a water-based product. So when it goes on, it dries nearly instantly. So you apply it with this automotive style gun that we've developed for our installation teams with an air compressor. It's very easy to apply, and it goes on very, very fast. Like I said, we had anticipated a whole week in the school. Each school is roughly 100,000 square feet of flat footprint. We did both schools in 7 hours with a team of 70 people. Unbelievable. And what was really nice is we left behind, what we do is we do these little door cards for each of the classrooms and the rooms. And as the teams wander around the school, they know that they've got to do the prep, the pre-cleaning, the application of the base coat and the top coat, and they were rotating into those jobs throughout the day, getting experience as they were going. And when they were done, we had them sign little cards saying who did the finished work, and then put that on the teacher's desk. And that showed the teacher a little about the technology. We had a little video that explained what it was and how it worked, how to maintain their surfaces in the classrooms. And we're here to answer questions. So I'll open it up now, I think, Patty, at this point, to any questions that the team have. I know, Patty, I don't want to keep you too long. My team is here to stay as long as anyone has questions. If there's any questions or you want to test it on a bathroom, we can help you there. We do a lot of odor elimination tests. That's one of the areas where you can physically experience what it does. Smelly locker room, for example, is a good place to go. We've got a lot of anti-slip. We just finished a water park where they had slip and falls every week. It's been post-application 4 months, no slip and falls at all, where people were getting out of the pool area and running into the bathroom and they would slip on the tile. It's hydrophilic, so what happens when water sits on top of our surface, it flattens the water out and it makes it so that it doesn't feel like sandpaper. As Patty will tell you, you wipe the surface, it feels very, very smooth, but it has a very tight grip to your foot. I mean, I noticed when we did the wax test, Patty, that section that's in the middle that's coated with the wax and TiCoat on top, you can definitely, I mean, if you put a little water on there, you'll feel between the waxed area without the protective coating on top of the wax, that it's a lot more slippery. And so there's liability issues related to those kinds of things. There's, like you said, Patty, there's a lot of things that are ancillary to just what the product does that really are helpful, I think. Return on investment is very quick. So I see a few questions maybe popping up here. Let's cost of product per square foot. So it depends. What we do if we're doing a big jurisdiction and we're going to go from school to school to school, it ranges anywhere from 60 cents a square foot to $1 a square foot. We typically say we reach to 8 feet, 9 feet in the air. We don't get on ladders. If we got to do higher exterior applications, that can impact the cost a little bit for application, but that's the typical range of application. And I will tell you that TiCoat as a company, we are dedicated to the education community. We will work with you within the ESSER funds budgets that you have available to you. Just get with one of our salespeople and we'll make sure that you get what you need. We can work within any budget you have. We can focus on, like Patty and I talked about originally, I think we were talking bathrooms and doors and high touch surfaces. And then I just said, you know what, Patty, let's work with your budget. Let's see if we can do both schools from top to bottom. I feel a lot better as a company having everything protected as opposed to, and the only thing we didn't do at that time was the floors.
Mhm.
The next question is, does it have to be applied yearly? The answer to that is no. This product is like a ceramic finish. Think of it, you know, Patty and I talk about this and joke. I must have said at one point, it's like a Mercedes-Benz clear coat. And so she calls it the Mercedes-Benz of schools because of the treatment in the school. So I should use it in our marketing materials, but it's, you know, you could take a key to a clear coat on a car and scratch it off. If you get on it with a Brillo pad and really abrasively remove it, you can remove the coating. And I'll give you an example we did with Southeastern Pennsylvania Transit Authority. They surprised us with a test where they have a silicone material that they put on tile in the subways and things like that for graffiti. And it's a self-sacrificing material. So if I spray paint on top of it, I just polish it off and then reapply so the paint can't stick to the tile underneath. Well, the vandals got the idea to use acid pens. So what they did is they put the silicone protective for the anti-graffiti, they put TiCoat on top, and then we took acid pens and I could etch my name into the acid, into the TiCoat, but we could ablatively remove it, abrasively remove it, and there was no damage to the tile underneath. And we're talking 120 nanometer thickness coating. It can be applied to fabrics. It's flexible. It's not like it's a rigid finish. So the lifespan of the product, let's see, how do you determine when the product needs to be applied?
Hey, Todd,
Sean.
want me to read these questions from the top for you?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so the next one would be any issues with overspray on carpet?
No. Well, I can say this. When we did the training for the staff at Patty's school, if you atomize it and it dries before it reaches the surface, you can create a powder on the floor. It's not harmful. You just vacuum it up. But there is no issue with overspray. In fact, there's no prep work like painting. You don't have to mask off windows and door handles or anything. It's indiscriminate. You can cover everything with the product as you go. So that's what makes it apply so quickly. And when you apply it, it dries so quickly. It's like fogging a mirror. It dries almost instantly. And so you're moving constantly. and you're in and out of a classroom. I think we were doing a classroom every 15 minutes with a 2-person team in the classrooms. It was very, very fast.
Next one is, does it prevent mold or mildew from forming on surfaces?
Yes, prevents those things from attaching and sticking to the surface. You know, when we talk about mold, mildew, one of the things that we had at Patty's school was in the nurse's office. They had a leaky roof. They had tried several times to mitigate the mildew smell in that room. Happy to report we went in there, we sprayed down all the walls, we did the ceiling and everything in that room, and the odors were eliminated. I think to this day, Patty, that you're using that room, which you weren't before. You had already fixed the roof leaking issue, but you weren't able to handle that. So.
Right.
Next one is, how much light is enough for treating, especially now that we're in a period of energy conservation?
Good question. So yeah, the only thing that activates our coating is when an organic material comes in contact. We create naturally occurring peroxides at the surface when light, oxygen, and water in the organic are present, and it just degrades it. So for an example, if a bird drops on the coating, we break the interface, make it easy. You still got to do something mechanically with water to wipe that off. It's not going to immediately break that down, but the smaller the organic and the amount of light you throw at it are all directly proportional. So the peak performance is in sunlight, but it continues to do what it does with visible light with LED. And that's one of the things that's unique about TiCoat. Our competitors that are out there in the market don't tell the customers that, number one, it doesn't stick permanently to the surface. They talk about it in terms of 30 to 40, 90 days maximum functionality. Ours is years. And doesn't come off the surface, but we also work with LED light, and we are functional with as little light as moonlight. And one thing that we had at Patty's school was, I got a call from, I don't know if it was from Heather or from you, Patty, when we had the summer school stuff going on, and I got a call that said, hey, one of the bathrooms is starting to smell again. So we went out I said, well, what bathroom is it? It was a staff bathroom that nobody had been turning the light on. So I said, do me a favor, turn the light on tonight, leave it on overnight. Let me come in the morning at 10 o'clock. By the time I got there, the odors were all eliminated, doing what it does. So yeah, the timers, if you get odors creeping back in, you might have to up your timers a little bit, just to give it a little bit of time to energize it. The only way I can describe the product in a visual form is, think of it like a glow-in-the-dark material where you take a flashlight, you charge up the surface. We use that energy within the crystals that are sitting on the surface, and it's photoreactive, and it's ready. So when those organics come and bombard it, it starts doing what it does, but it does lose energy. So the only way to replenish the energy is to give it more light. So there's nothing in the product. We've done fish bioassays. We had minnows swimming in the coating for a week, none died, no heavy metals. I mean, Patty will tell you, the state toxicology report was spot on. It was, this is inert. You can use it wherever you need to, and I see no issue. So hopefully that answers the question.
Next one is, how do you determine when the product needs to be reapplied?
So that's a very good question, and I kind of wish we had the plan that we have now for Patty's school, but we go back in and we do our evaluations. There's two ways. One is we have a new material, which is a UV pen that we can put on, for example, a door handle. Before the product is applied, we put a little dot on the door handle. It's an acrylic UV that you can barely see it on the surface. And the only time you see it is if you put a UV light, like a black light, purple light on it. And as the product wears off the surface and you see the UV disappear, that would be the time that you would reapply. The second way we do it is a retained sample, where we take a tile like this, we apply it with the same material that's applied in your school. We leave samples with you, and we have a blue dye that we can put on the surface and do photoreactive tests to confirm that the product is still functional, hasn't fallen off the surface. And we take, with the blue dye, we take a quarter or a dime, we stick it in direct sunlight. This is one of the demos that we do in the field. And within an hour, that tile is completely clean, but where you remove the coin, it stays blue. So that's one area that we can do, periodic testing with what we call a retained sample to make sure it's still photoreactive. And the third is look, if you get odors coming back in a bathroom, it's most likely that you've tracked it off the floor. Like I talked to Patty at her school with her staff, they haven't reapplied in a year. Now, we're in New England, and when we went in to visit with Patty about maybe a month ago, just before the holiday, we had gone into a room, and Patty, it looked like somebody went in there with a wheelbarrow of dirt and dumped it in the classroom, spread it all over the floor, right? And it was still holding up pretty well there, but if somebody were tracking that into a bathroom, that's like sandpaper. If you get odors coming back in a bathroom, your staff just reapplies our product. That's all they have to do. And it's very, very low cost when you're doing it yourselves. To give you an idea, 1 gallon of our product covers about 5,000 square feet of surface area on smooth surface. It goes a very, very long way.
Does this product prevent marks on walls and desktops?
Sean, you want to take that one? Talk about Mitchell College with the graffiti with the organic ink that the student was vandalizing the school.
Oh, yeah.
Inorganics, no, it's not. But you could abrasively remove it and make it easier to get the material off the surface. But we're not really an anti-graffiti kind of a thing. But Sean can share one with you that I thought was interesting.
Yeah, so we applied at Mitchell College in the cafeteria area here in New London, Connecticut, and a student somehow broke into the building overnight and vandalized the entire building. The only place there wasn't any graffiti in the morning they noticed was the area that was treated with TiCoat. Everywhere else was treated. So they didn't have it, they don't have any cameras in this building, but they thought, why would the student vandalize the whole entire building and not the area with TiCoat?
The only thing I can think of is that it was an organic dye. I don't remember what kind of pen was it. I think they figured out what they were using, right?
I forget what it was. Yeah, I'm not sure what he said, but
But it stuck to everything but ours. So that was the point. What's the next question, Sean?
It is this a 2-part product?
It is. It's actually 3 parts, but we pre-mix. When we did Patty's school, we pre-mixed this. We have a primer product that's a base coat that attaches it. So we've developed an inorganic material. If you take titanium, anatase titanium crystals and try to stick it to a wall, when light hits it, it gets photoreactive. Like when I was a kid, I'm thinking of the pop rocks. You know, they pop in your mouth and go crazy. They literally do that and fall off the surface. So we've developed an inorganic primer base coat. That's a 2-part system. You mix it together. It's a water-based product. You apply that, and then that's where the teams come through the rooms. We have a primer team that comes through and does that as the first step. And then these door cards that we put on the doors, it was a checkbox so that when they approach the door as a team member within the school footprint, they didn't even have to know where they were in the building because they were all color coded, and they'd say, oh, I'm red zone. I see that on the door. Primer's not been done. Primer crew come over. And so each step was done in sequential order. We didn't miss anything. So it went like clockwork, but yeah, it's an interesting one there for sure.
And it looks like that is it from, yeah, that's it.
Well,
Yeah, Patty, I see your point there. Most of your rooms are on timers, so you've had no odors returned. And I don't think we did many changes to any of the timing sequences of motion activation of lighting or anything, right?
No.
can anybody hear me? I have a question. I heard you mention about the overspray that gets on the carpet and is as simple as just vacuuming that dust up, that pile that comes on.
That's right.
Okay, but in section 7 of the SDS, it mentions that as hazardous product dust may occur, and you got to wash your hands and be and other areas exposed with mild soap and water before eating, drinking, smoking, or when leaving work. Do not handle to all safety precautions that have been read and understood. So I just wanted to know, if I'm vacuuming it up, that's an opportunity to kick that around. Now, is that something that's different from what you're explaining to me?
Yeah, so Sam, just to give you an idea, when you put a chemical into space, you have to go by the CAS numbers. So the CAS number that we use is for titanium dioxide white powder. So as a precaution, we tell you, our teams to use masks when applying the product, because it is potential in high volume inhalation risk, right? So it's like painting, right? So if you were to paint and have overspray and vacuum it up, think of it like that. It's not getting into the atmosphere at all. So we typically don't see overspray. The reason we ended up with some overspray there is some of the teams were using improper guns in some areas. Patty's room was one of them, where they were basically just too far away from the surface and drying the product. We went in and just did a regular vacuuming of the area, and that was the end of it. Our partner that originally developed the exterior application of our product has been applying it for 30 years without using respiratory stuff in Japan. So this is where the technology was emanating from, that we improved and made some performance enhancements to it. But none of them have any lung issues. None of their team members have had any cancer or anything like that from applying it without any protection at all. But as a manufacturer, we have to err on the side of caution just to make sure everybody's safe.
Right, exactly, and that's what we would want to do as if with anything that we use in our division, our employees, that safety comes first. Yeah, because I was wondering, because that was the next thing I was going to lead into, is because also 8.3 of the SDS talked about the individual protective measure of washing hands and forms and face thoroughly after handling the product. And the only reason I'm saying that because I know that you said initially your team would do it. You wouldn't want anyone else's team, the current staff, to take on a large task. But when it comes to reapplying it or knowing when to reapply it, these things would fall into place with the localized teams or employees that are in place. So I was wondering how that all works together as far as the safety aspect of it. Because I know you said there have been others that have used it without any type of respiratory stuff that they use or protection, and haven't had any issues. So I just wanted to know exactly what is the standard procedure, not the what the standard procedure is for utilizing and handling the product.
So Sam, the two things that we've developed, we have an online course that's already up on our website. Anyone is welcome to take it. It's completely free, and it walks you through the steps of all of this. From a PPE standpoint, we recommend safety goggles, rubber gloves, long sleeves, and a N95 mask at minimum, the respirator when applying the product, just as a precaution to be 100% safe. So this is really just about making sure that we're erring on the side of caution. As Patty will tell you, we're a pretty conservative company. We don't overstate what our product can do. So we just want to make sure that, as you're handling it, everybody always thought things like Roundup were safe, right? So you want to just make sure that you're really making sure that you're protected when it's applied. And then once it attaches to the surface, it's like a clear coat on a car. You cannot easily remove it. I mean, I go down our tiles all the time here, and my desk every day, I play with it to try to pull it off with my thumb, just as an abrasive, and you can't see any damage to the coating whatsoever. It just doesn't flake off. It doesn't transmit. That's how we were able to get food contact approval, by the way, Sam. That's where we did an FDA lab analysis, third-party test, where they did a transmit, where they had a special material they put on it, where they peel it off and they look for the particles on the piece of material. We did not transfer from the surface on multiple different surfaces. We did ceramic, I think was in the test, a flexible Linetta tile, which is like a plastic tile. We did scrubbability tests. We did a Linetta tile under what they call chain of custody, 500 cycles with a sponge on the surface. And then we sent it to the University of Connecticut. They're our partner that took it under an electron microscope, and they were able to see all the particles were still intact, and signed off on the fact that it had not worn off from general cleaning on a plastic piece, which is very difficult to stick to.
I had a question. How do the product hold up in the men's restroom? The men's restroom with the active
Patty, you want to take that one?
Yeah, that was my biggest win. Originally, I thought if we could just fix these bathrooms, and I think probably men are more responsible than juvenile boys, and probably have better aim. And so we really had bathroom smells that would drift into the hallway. And so we have no bathroom smells in the hallway and no bathroom smells in the bathroom standing at the urinals. I walk in after hours, of course, but there are no smells, none. And so it's been almost a year, we're almost at our year anniversary, and no reapplication, nothing.
Okay, so the acid comes out of the body is not breaking that material down, because I do know that acid over time can put holes in cement. So what is in that product that's keeping that acid from not breaking it down? Because it breaks down cement, terrazzo. I've seen it do stuff to porcelain tiles. So what is in the product that's not breaking that down, that's keeping that from happening over
We're
time?
pH neutral, so those products like bleach are alkaline, and that's what breaks down things like cement. You know, if it's acidic, or if it's bleaches tend to be in the alkaline range. We're pH neutral. We're at pH in the range of about 6.4 to 6.5. So on a reference for you, milk is 6 and 6.7 is water, or 7 is water. So water is the baseline of what is considered to be base neutral. So our product doesn't react with surfaces when you apply it at all. It only reacts with organics, but it's like fire. Think of it like fire doesn't work without oxygen, right? We don't do anything without light. So if you have a room that you shut the light off permanently and you had odors in there, there's a chance they'll creep back. But as soon as you flip the light back on, our product will begin doing what it does.
Okay. Thank you.
There's nothing in the product that's pesticidal, let's put it that way, that we can point at. You know, today we market the product as a self-cleaning, odor eliminating product that works on inanimate objects. You can't. We're in the process of going through a certification process, but it's going to take us a couple of years to get through it, because there's nothing in the product that we can point at with the EPA that's pesticidal, that kills anything. So without light, it does absolutely nothing. Completely inert.
Acting almost like a UVA light.
Yeah, but we work with LED light.
Go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, so that's a black light, but our product, because we were able to successfully bind copper oxide with it, copper is the other ingredient in our product with water. We bound that through a special chemical process that we've developed, that we have patents on, that binds the two together and allows it to be functional in LED light, because the LED lights in all of your schools, I assume most of you have converted over for energy savings, because that's been ongoing for a few years. There's no UV in it whatsoever. That's one of the main differences with our anatase titanium dioxide material versus competitive products that are out there. They only work outside in sunlight or with a fluorescent light, which generates a little bit of UV. Our product works with all light sources, including LED. So it can be used inside of a building. Oh yeah, I've had plastic chairs, cloth chairs. We did the cloth chairs and the plastic backing in the I'm thinking of the auditorium areas there, the brick, carpets, all of it. So any other questions for us? Next steps, if anybody has questions, needs help, let us know. We're happy to conduct, we do free bathroom tests all the time with the product.
Todd, I'd just like to add one thing. Patty did a good job talking about the ESSER funds and how she was able to allocate those. There was actually an article in the Wall Street Journal today that was talking about the amount of funds that are left out there specifically for schools. So, I would refer you to that article today. But basically what it said is, at most, the highest utilizing states were, I think, California and New York, and they were at 32 to 30% usage of these funds. And these funds expire next year. So you've got a little bit of time left, but it's almost like when Todd was referring to the LED revolution, when the power utilities were giving those rebates. It's a similar situation. And, you know, I know all schools are mindful of budgeting and things of that nature. So it's not only that you're, you know, able to go to your, you know, PTA groups and, you know, the parents in general and say, we're removing toxics here responsibly, but also that you're able to offset those costs beyond the ROI difference that Patty alluded to in the out years. It's like I said, that money's just sitting out there. I give you an example. I think Florida was somewhere around $1.1 billion. Texas was over $1 billion. Even the smaller states were in the $300 to $500 million range. And, you know, like I said, most of them are in the single digits as far as percentage of usage. So we definitely will do everything we can to help you facilitate that application process to make the situation much easier for you to move forward with TiCoat.
I got one more question here from Richard. It says some insecticides are organic materials. The answer, would we break that down? The answer is yes. Anything organic that touches our surface is broken down. Inorganics, again, things like dirt, which is inorganic, we have no effect on whatsoever. We have no effect on you. It's the small organics that touch the surface that get broken down. And like I said earlier, the more you throw at it, like a big, you know, organic, you know, bird dropping. One of the ones, another example I have with one of my internal team, I give them material to test around their homes. And Ken Kusu's on the call today. He's got a walkway where he had a blueberry bush nearby, and the birds were dropping their droppings and staining the concrete. And the only way he could get it off was power washing and acid. And so he did his normal cleaning and then applied our product, and he has photos and videos of him going out. It's like watching sand get dispersed off of the surface with a hose. That's all he does to get it off the surface. So it makes the general cleaning, like Patty said, much easier, much lower cost if you're using water primarily as your general purpose cleaner in your school with our product on the surfaces. And that's really our goal. Our mantra is really, let's eliminate as many of these toxic cleaners as we can. The industry is huge. It's a challenge. And odors. The other thing I forgot to mention, Patty, was, you know, you had shared with me some of the tests. I was trying to find the article with the federal government, but you had said at one point that odors were like the #1 reason that kids would have trouble learning if there were smells around them that they couldn't manage. So odor elimination is one of our strongest points. It's one of the areas where you get the most immediate impact to know that the product's doing what it does.
It's also an area that people don't always know that they're even sensitive to. So they may not even know they're having difficulty, or they're distracted or getting headaches because of the smells. So they may go away and not even understand why they're gone. So I just think the more fresh air that we can give our students, we get them outside, but if we can make that an environment inside as well, we're in better shape.
So let us know how we can help you. If you need help kind of tracking down the ESSER funds, Patty's always opened her doors to anyone that's near enough to come in and see the school and experience it for yourself. If we have any other questions, I put at the beginning of this chat box. Patty's got her email up here as well. I'll put mine in if you want to directly communicate with us. Any questions you might have, happy to answer. Right about an hour.
There was a question. Some insecticides are made from organic materials like chrysanthemum. Would TiCoat have an effect on that?
Yeah, that was the one I just answered, Ken. You must not have heard it, but I'll repeat it.
I did not. My apologies to the group.
That's okay. It's an organic material. As long as it's organic, we have an effect on it. If it's inorganic, then the answer is no, we wouldn't have any effect on it whatsoever. In fact, I'll give you one example. We're working with a medical company right now that's looking to bring our product into the healthcare industry. They have a product that's ammonium quatride salt. So salt is an inorganic material. It leaves streaks. I was at my dentist's office and I saw the bottle sitting there, and I asked the nurse that was taking care of me, and she said, "Oh, we don't use that stuff anymore because it leaves yellow stains on everything. It breaks down the plastics, and that's the salts reacting because it's not pH neutral with those surfaces." We've even seen the same thing in the casino industry. We've got a partner we're working with right now out of Ohio that refurbishes slot machines, and the foggers they've been using break down the plasticides. We've seen a lot of high acidic foggers that have been a problem for many of these schools that we've been talking to as well. So most companies have moved away from using that altogether, but in the beginning, everybody was using it, trying to stay on top of it. And again, we're pH neutral, so we don't react with things. The only thing you do have to be a little bit concerned about, just to do test areas on metal, is raw copper and raw silver. Patty did this at her family's home with a farmer's sink that was raw copper, and it tarnishes it a little bit black because it's doing kind of the opposite of what you would get with acid rain, where it would turn green. It created some black spots, but that was just the reaction of the material coming in contact with that raw metal. So I appreciate everybody taking an hour to spend with us today. We really look forward to continuing conversations with you offline. Please feel free to reach out to my team and just let us know what you need from us. We're here. We are committed to the schools. We will work within the budgets you have available to you to try to make whatever you need happen. Patty, thanks for your time today.
Thank you. Talk soon.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you all.
Have a good one, everybody. Take care.